That is right. It's your boy Anthony Gallo, and I'm back for another marathon on WFAN, the greatest station on the planet, in the greatest city in the world, New York City. I've got you all the way till 6 p.m. 888-808-1019 is the number to call as always. And I got to start here because I'm sick and tired of hearing of it. I heard it all week. The Knicks don't have a plan. We're back to being a circus from guys on the station, from the media, from the national media, the New York media. But I got to tell you guys, relax. This is not the Steve Mills, Herb Williams era of incompetency. This isn't Derek Fisher. This isn't Larry Brown. The Knicks are going to be okay. And this notion that they don't have a plan, because God forbid they go out and are doing their due diligence when, hate to break it to you, no one else has a coaching vacancy, does not mean they do not have a plan. If any other team in the NBA, outside of maybe the Lakers, because people like to pile on them too, outside of the Lakers, any other team in the NBA was doing this, we'd be praising them for being due diligent. We'd be praising them for doing their homework. And if they came out and just hired Johnny Bryant or Jason Kidd, let's say in a world where they were just able to hire Jason Kidd, you all would kill them. And either you guys don't want to see that it was time to move on from Tibbs, and you can't face the fact that they've moved on, or you're just stupid. Because this is not how NBA teams operate, is just go out and hire a guy. Everyone has to go through their process. And yes, I'll admit, them not speaking to the media has hurt the benefit of the doubt for them. But if you're really looking at the league, the landscape of the league, this is how teams operate. Just because they reached out to the Hawks, or they reached out to the Bulls, or they reached out to whatever NBA team there is, they're just doing their due diligence. And all of a sudden, we all trusted Leon Rose. We've all trusted Leon Rose. And now we somehow don't trust him anymore. You guys don't know the names to some of these guys, or you have revisionist history, so you hate them. Mike Brown's had the same career Thibodeau's had. Oh, difference is he's been to an NBA Finals. Mike Brown is a good NBA coach. Taylor Jenkins, we all loved him, and now that there's a possibility the Knicks might hire him, you think it's a circus act. We all need to relax. I think there's PTSD with this fan base, that somehow we're going to go through a year removed from the Eastern Conference Finals, we're going to go back into a decade of irrelevancy. That every day is going to be a circus or a back page or controversy. There's been no controversy. Too many people in the New York media, and these guys do a great job. I am not trying to take a shot at them. Too many people in the New York media are too close to Tom Thibodeau for them to have a true opinion on this coaching search. Because until the Knicks hire someone, and they're all going to kill the Knicks no matter who they hire, short of getting Eric Spoelstra or a shot in the dark with Chris Finch, they're all going to kill the Knicks no matter who they hire. Similar to what happened with the Mets when they fired Buck Showalter. How could they do this? This is our same old Mets. Blah, blah, blah. Oh, they can't get Craig Counsell. Blah, blah, blah. And then we hired Carlos Mendoza, and look where we are. I'm sick of hearing it. Because it wouldn't happen if this was the Thunder or the Bulls. Or if it was the Bulls or the Heat, we'd be praising them. If you switched the logo to the Miami Heat and this was Pat Riley, you all would be praising him for the way he's operating. But because it's the New York Knicks, and we can't get past the fact that 5 years ago, for a decade, we were irrelevant and we were a disaster, that hasn't been the case anytime soon. 3 out of the last 4 years, they've made the playoffs. 4 out of the last 5. And if you're going to give Tibbs credit, you got to give Leon Rose credit. He's the one who put the pieces together. He's the one who decided to make the decision. Any other team does this. You do not react this way. It's ridiculous. If they would have hired a guy, or the reports would have been that they have a guy in mind and that's the guy, you all would have crushed them and said, why aren't they doing their due diligence? And now that it's the other way around and the national media is telling you to laugh at the Knicks, you're doing it. And you're panicking as Knicks fans. Meanwhile, the same fan base that night in and night out crushed Thibodeau. He doesn't play his bench. He has terrible third quarters. He never uses a timeout. He's got no offensive creativity. All of a sudden, he can do no wrong. And I hate to break it to you, whether they hire a coach with pedigree or not, it doesn't mean it's a bad hire or a good hire. No one knew who Steve Kerr was as a coach. Nobody knew what Greg Popovich was as a coach. No one knew who Eric Spoelstra was as a coach. And he took over a Miami Heat team, yes, had different cards to deal with, but he took over a superstar-laden team as a rookie coach and led them to a championship. But if the Knicks hire Jeff Van Gundy, all of a sudden you guys will be happy. It's lazy. It's lame, and I'm sick of it. Before the Knicks lost that series to the Pacers, everyone was like, they should probably fire Tibbs. Then when they do it, wrong decision. And I got to be honest, if they thought the plan was, I think there's more of a plan than what's going on. But if they thought the plan was, we have to fire Tibbs, he's not getting the job done, that's a plan. You don't just stick with a coach because you don't know what the option is. That's not how professional teams operate. When the Giants fired Coughlin, it was time to move on. When the Yankees moved on from Joe Torre and Joe Girardi, it was time to move on. There doesn't have to be a succession plan. The whole point is you have to see what's out there. Because then if they stick to one guy, you may pass up an opportunity for somebody else that might be a better fit. And just because they're not hiring Johnny Bryant, I don't think that's the plan. But if they did hire Johnny Bryant, you know what? I'd feel pretty good about that. And a lot of you, I love Mike Malone. I don't get why Mike Malone's not a candidate. But also, if they hire Mike Malone, you should have just kept Tibbs then. Because he's the same guy, only he's from Queens. Yes, he does have a ring. He also had the MVP, maybe the best player of this generation, on his team. I'm sorry if I trust this regime to get the job done. Just because they haven't won an NBA championship yet does not mean they don't deserve this trust. And Tibbs had reached his apex. If they lose to the Celtics, none of you care that they would fire Tibbs. Sure, they beat the Celtics, and they got to the Eastern Conference Finals. But that can't be the bare minimum. You have to chase a title. And the Knicks thought getting rid of Tibbs was the way to chase a title. You don't stay in a toxic relationship because you're afraid you might be single a little longer than expected. You have to get out from under it and get better. You cannot settle. The Knicks could have settled last year and ran it back with the same team, minus Ihart, because they were never going to be able to re-sign Ihart, because that's the way the cap works. The Thunder were able to pay him nearly twice as much as the Knicks. If they would have done that, we're not sitting here even talking about an Eastern Conference Finals. We may not even be talking about the second round. This is the way it works, and they're doing due diligence. And if it does end up being Kidd, I don't necessarily love the Kidd hire, not for his coaching ability. I could do without the off-court stuff. But if it does end up being Jason Kidd, why is it a problem that they are shopping around the league? Why is it a problem they're interviewing Mike Brown, a guy who went to the NBA Finals, a guy who won 60 games multiple years in Cleveland, who changed the Sacramento Kings franchise? Why is that such a bad decision? Again, I'm not saying that's the guy. Taylor Jenkins, somebody we all loved until this year. A guy who I think is a very good coach. And if his star player wasn't waving guns around on social media, maybe he's not fired from Memphis. Why is this such a bad thing? Why is it because they're asking to speak to someone, all of a sudden it's a circus? Why? Because the media that loves Tibbs, the writers that love Tibbs is telling you it's a circus? The same people that any chance they get, they're going to write up a superstar. Listen, how many times have we said, say Knicks for clicks? And you guys buy into it every time. Charles Barkley says something, you get your feathers all ruffled. Shaq says something, you get your feathers all ruffled. How many times, until the Knicks got to where they were this year, if they didn't have something to write about with the Knicks, it was this superstar's going to the Knicks, no matter how unlikely it was. But all of a sudden, we trust them in a coaching search. I trust the guys that are there. I trust the guys who have built this team to be a perennial playoff team, win playoff series. The same guys who identified Jalen Brunson as a talent, Julius Randle as a talent. The same guys who were able to develop Deuce and other guys who had been here like IQ, like RJ, were able to develop a Mitchell Robinson. Perfect example. If the Miami Heat did what Jalen Brunson, what the Knicks have done with Jalen Brunson in Miami, we'd be saying Heat culture. Look at that Heat culture. You know what? The Knicks have done a good job. They've developed talent. They've made the right moves. So why can't we trust Leon Rose to make the right move at head coach? And this notion that he's somehow walking at the door because you guys can't face the facts that maybe he decided to fire Tibbs, his friend, which to me shows you leadership, is outrageous to me. I am very confident in this front office. And Leon Rose wasn't here when we were a disaster. Worldwide West wasn't here when we were a disaster. So why are we attaching that to them? That would be like attaching the Wilpons ownership to Steve Cohen. It's not how it works. And yes, the goal is to win a title. And if they don't win a title this year, it's not the coach who's on the hot seat. Leon Rose will be on the hot seat. But that's how it's supposed to be. We begged for expectations. We begged to be in this position. Now we're here and you can't handle it. And I hate having to come on. I want to have fun. This isn't fun. But I got to hear all week, the Knicks don't have a plan. The Knicks don't, it's a circus, same old Knicks. It's not the same old Knicks. We're going to go into next year with top 5 odds to be an NBA champion. We're going to go in the next year probably top 2 or 3 to win the East. Jason Tatum's not walking through the door. The Celtics are looking to trade Drew Holiday. Dame Lillard's not walking through the door next year. The Eastern Conference is wide open. And kudos to the Pacers. They're legit. That may be the only competition the Knicks have to deal with next year. So excuse me for looking at this glass half full. Excuse me for trusting Leon Rose, who outside of a couple decisions has been nearly flawless. Yeah, you want to crush him for the Obi Toppin pick? A lot of other teams that their GMs are still employed didn't pick Tyrese Halliburton. Yes, he signed Kemba Walker and Evan Fournier. It didn't hurt us one bit. After that season, we moved on. You all crushed him for signing Jalen Brunson. You guys crushed it. You guys all love iHeart now. When they signed him, they're like, this is our big move for the offseason. Go back. Look at the way the media reacted. So sorry, again, if I trust this front office. And yeah, I hate to break it to you, players are going to have say. Just because Brunson, Hart, and Bridges may have liked Thibodeau does not mean everyone on the team liked them. That's the nature of the beast. It's the NBA. That's how, like it or not, deal with it. If the Thunder lose that series and SGA says he wants the coach out, it stinks, but that's the case. Also, none of you knew who the coach was for the Thunder. And look at the job that guy's done. So forgive me if I'm trusting the guy in charge who's got us to this point. And I want to repeat, it does them no service that nobody from the Garden speaks. I understand that. You can be frustrated with that, but that does not mean they don't have a plan. We haven't known their steps this entire regime. The entire time Leon Rose has been here, we haven't known what their plan was every step of the way, and it's worked out so far. Welcome to being a title contender in the NBA. The Raptors fired a coach after the Eastern Conference Finals, won a title. Every team has done something like this. Every great team, not every great team, but a lot of great teams have done stuff like this. It's not the end of the world. And if you were complaining about Tibbs during the season, if you said he had a ceiling, I don't want to hear you come in here and now rip the Knicks for moving on from him because you have graduation goggles or you're afraid of the unknown. I don't want to hear it. 888-808-1019 is the number to call. As always, we'll get to your calls. We got a lot to get to. Mets, Yankees, the Jets. Has a culture shift happened for the Jets? A lot to get to. Anthony Gallo on the Fan till 6 p.m.